Okay, good.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay, so this is just coming from Rotary International. I thought it would be a good thing to just review and refresh. So, what's our purpose? Rotary focuses on several areas of including peace building, disease prevention, and education, and others. So basic education and literacy are prioritized as essential to improving communities and, most importantly, fostering development. So our goal is to strengthen the capacity of communities to support basic education and literacy and reduce gender disparity and increase adult literacy. So basic education and literacy are fundamental rights. And that's something that I hold near and dear because it just breaks my heart to know that there are children anywhere in the world that don't have that quality education. So, and it's critical for individual um, empowerment and community development. Improving literacy rates can lead to economic opportunities and, of course, better health outcomes. So, what are the challenges? Despite efforts in basic education, there are significant challenges remaining in achieving universal education for all. So this section is going to highlight the barriers that hinder access to education and impacts of illiteracy. So global literacy rates have improved, but still there are millions of adults and children that remain illiterate. And statistics highlight the disparities in education and educational access between different regions and demographics. So what we want to do is to remove those barriers because these barriers to education, they include poverty, gender equality, the lack of infrastructure, and cultural attitudes. These factors, they significantly impact the children's ability to attend school and learn effectively. When we look at the impact of illiteracy on communities, it has far-reaching effects, including increased poverty rates, unlimited job opportunities, and reduced, participation in civic activities. Addressing literacy obviously is crucial for community well-being. So how do we get involved? Engaging communities
Oh, yeah.
in education
Who's speaking?
and fosters support and sustainability. Raising the awareness about the importance of education can motivate families to prioritize schooling for their children. Um, and that's that to me, education is the foundation of building a better way of life for all. And in doing that, we're building a better community and a whole better environment. So this is my story. Why is this so important to me? And I'm going to start off with my dad. And I may get emotional because he, like I put here, he is my hero. So my dad was a very humble man. He lost his parents when he was 4 years old. He was kicked around to different aunts and uncles, and eventually he just decided, I'm going to make it on my own. And in so doing, he met my mom, which was when he says his life began. And he was a wonderful father. And he pushed education. He encouraged us. I have three sisters. And my dad, when I was in college and I'm studying to be a teacher, I, it was the first time that it hit me that my dad can't read. He doesn't know how to read. And it broke my heart. I couldn't believe it because all those years, he just came across as this bigger than life man, could do anything and everything except learning how to read. And that's because of his childhood. He just never had the chance to have an education. He was pulled out of school in the fourth grade to work on his uncle's farm. So when I realized that, I asked him, Dad, let me help you. I can help you. I can show you. I can help you learn to read. And he said, Nope, it's too late for me, Terri. But what you can do is teach your future students to be the best readers they can. And that just stuck with me till this day. I carry my dad in all my teaching. Oh, sorry. So this book that you see more than anything else, I chose early on in my teaching career because it was almost like the story of my father. More than anything else, he wanted to learn how to read. And so that became my passion, my goal. And that brings me to a student that I taught in third grade. His name is Wen. And Wen was he was the son of friends of my husband's and me. And he was this quiet little boy. And at the beginning of the year, I always do goals like, what do you want most out of third grade? And he wrote on his paper, what I want is to learn how to read. Oh, so I conferenced with him one on one and we made a plan. I introduced him to a series of books and I think it was like Encyclopedia Brown, and he read every one and with help and eventually on his own, and his writing became better, and he became, then I would put him on the path of another series of books, and he became a reader. And by the end of third grade, when we give our state test, he scored in the advanced level. So it's basic, proficient, advanced. And we celebrated. And when he went into fourth grade, he was tested for the gifted and talented program. He continued in gifted and talented programs all the way through high school. He graduated with honors. He entered the Marine Corps, and I am proud to say today he is a commander in the Marine Corps. So he was my first of success, and there's been several others, and it's just been it's I retired in 2014, and in 2020 2021 I went back to teaching. Um, a fellow Rotarian opened up a um, a private school that centers on education for all students, but it's environmental education as well as your curriculum, your basic curriculum. So I have as much passion in teaching my sixth graders English language arts as I do 40 some years ago teaching my third graders. So today in Rotary, in our club, we've taken on several initiatives, and these are the two that are our most recent. We partnered with United Way for the Read and Deed program, and we have several Rotarians that go into our elementary schools that have been assigned a student, and the Rotarian will choose a book and read it to the child, and or buddy read, and they volunteer once a week for about, well, half hour to 45 minutes. And it's been, every Rotarian comes back at our meetings during Happy Dollars to share the joy that they get working with these children. So that's one part of promoting education. And the other thing that we did was, the site where we hold our club meetings is at the University of South Carolina, the Hilton Head campus. And we got permission from the school and from the town to put in this little lending library. So that includes all kinds of books for children, teenagers, and adults. So that is my story. And happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank
So
you,
thank you
Terri.
for letting me share.
Thank you for bringing us all to tears. And obviously, we're, at least some of us in this room, myself included, cry often at Rotary meetings. And thank you for sharing your very personal story. And David and I, when we lived in Oxford, did a similar reading program at an elementary school. And I can say that that indeed was a very, it was a wonderful program for the children, but mostly for us, I think.
Yeah,
Claire's got her hand up.
Yes, I wanted to thank you, Terri, because you are raising a point that I have always thought was critical. We believe that people who can form letters or make their way through a word are able to read when they are, in some cases, functionally illiterate. And
yeah,
this being able to enhance their learning experience by making them good readers, I think is tremendously important. So thank you very much.
yeah, yeah. I get what you're saying. I can remember my dad during the World Series would make a chart for, to keep score. And I can, right now I can picture the way he wrote his numbers, and it was so elementary, but I said, okay, that's just his style. But really that was a sign. Yeah.
Vivian Arnold.
Anyway.
Yes, so I just want to share with you that I still remember my third grade teacher because I came into this country and I didn't speak a word of English. I didn't
Yeah.
speak, read, or write a word of English. And my third grade teacher was really instrumental in being protective, in not only recognizing that I had trouble with English, but finding me a tutor who can help me and encouraging me in a way that was safe space to learn and to grow
Yeah.
and to recognize my abilities. I and I, I I wrote back to her when I made the gifted and talented
Oh,
classes in English. I wrote back to her. I achieved this because of you.
oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
That's wonderful. Thank you
so
for sharing that.
yeah,
And,
no,
and
it is a big difference. Every teacher, to me, every teacher makes a difference. And to this day, I commend you for taking that road and career because it takes a lot of talent to teach.
it does, but it's so worthwhile when you see the light bulb click for whatever you're teaching. It just makes it all worth it. And another thing, my husband and I have done, we have been host parents to 14 youth exchange students, from all over the world, Japan, Taiwan, all in Europe and South America. And when they come to us, their English is very limited. So being the teacher that I am, I labeled everything in the house with English words, the English label, and I had the girls put in their word in their language. And as they learned the English, they took the index cards off the object. And then I got them involved in reading, novels in English so that they could be more fluent. So there's all, education happens in everything we do. So yeah.
David and then Jill.
Okay. Yeah.
Terri, thank you very much. I wanted to I guess reiterate something you said and relate it to the Listomere Gilby High School for the Deaf in Jamaica, which is our cause. You talked about the outcomes, some of the outcomes of illiteracy are poverty, cultural attitudes, and the lack of infrastructure are some of the causes of illiteracy. And I think in our case with deaf children, their first language is sign language. Most of the children we work with are literate in Jamaican Sign Language, but of course the general population doesn't understand Jamaican Sign Language. And it's difficult for them to learn English. And because of that, more than 50% of the deaf population in Jamaica are unemployed or employed in very basic, low paying, unskilled jobs. There is still a stigma, cultural attitudes, there's still a stigma in Jamaica against the deaf, which makes it even more difficult when you do have talented students to find meaningful opportunities in life. And lack of infrastructure, Jamaica is the second poorest country in the world, in the Caribbean, behind Haiti. So the Jamaican government, Department of Education, they understand what the needs are, but they often just can't provide them. And so this little niche is where we've decided to make our effort. I had an aha when we were there last month. And I admitted I'm kind of ashamed of it, but when you look at these deaf children, what I first see is the deafness. And I don't realize that they're just like everyone else in the world. Some of them are highly intelligent. A few of them go on to college and even postgraduate degrees. They're curious, they're inquisitive. And our presence there, we're getting feedback from the school, is making a difference. And so just like you're teaching, like you're doing the school reading program, that's what we're trying to do. And I encourage everyone, if we can't educate the children, if we can't get them to reach a level of literacy, then life is pointless for them in many ways. So thank you for everything you do.
Oh, thank you. That second book that I had on my last slide, The Rights of Children, that's from the United Nations and Desmond Tutu proclamation for what are the rights of children. And that's a powerful, powerful book. That's something you should look into.
Thank you. Jill, you need to unmute yourself.
Hi, good morning, and thank you
Jill.
very much. Hi, thanks a lot for sharing. So I kind of grew up in the way that I grew up in terms of my parents was a little bit the opposite of yours because I had highly educated parents, so the bar was set to a whole other level. And and I also, think that having a great teacher makes such an important impact on your life. And I remember running into some of my primary school teachers who made an impact, and therefore, whenever I see them, it really, their willingness to do the little things always really counted. And, whenever I would run into them, they remember me, and I'm happy because I always remember them. And education is really critical. I remember with my parents and some of when they were studying, like my dad got a scholarship to Cambridge. I told them, look, I'm never going to be that smart as you are. My mom studied nursing in England. She did her midwifery in Glasgow. And I remember her telling me some of the places that she visited, she couldn't, believe, seeing young kids living, you know, some of them are in poverty, and it was something, it was new for her. But what I wanted to share was based on my experience. My first year out of high school, I worked in a bank as a teller. And because of my upbringing, I was just led to believe that anyone that was older than me was educated, right? Because that's the family that I lived in. So obviously they all knew how to read and write. And I remember one day, you know, a customer came up. This man, he had a lot of money because he always came in just to deposit. He never withdrew. He was always depositing, but small sums. And the first time I interacted with him, you know, for him to sign the deposit slip and I get his card, because this is way back before computer days, everything is manual. He didn't have a signature. He had a thumbprint. And I
Ah,
was so shocked. I was like, my
yeah.
God, this man with all this money, I could not believe it. And then I went on to work for the UN and worked in countries where I would see, you know, in Africa, they tend to have big families. And I would see children working. And one image, last thing I'll say, one image that sticks with me right now, I can see it. It was on my way to work. I worked in Sierra Leone. There were these little children working along the roadside, could not have been more than 5 years old.
Mm.
And they were making concrete. They would
Oh,
sit down with a pickaxe that was probably bigger than them, and they were just chipping away a big boulder to break it, and they would break it down to smaller rocks, which would then they would make concrete like that. And I thought at 5 years old, I remember going to school, asking my mom. All the girls in my school had a bag with I had a bag with a handle, and all the other girls had one with a long. It was kind of like a satchel. They had a long thing, and I told my mom I want one of the other bags. I don't know. She was a nurse. She worked at night. I don't know when she got it. I don't know how much it cost. But 2 days later, it appeared magically. I could have been that little girl that I saw in Sierra Leone.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, education key.
Yep. And it brings me back to the rights of the children, you know. Well, thank you so much. I hate to
Thank you.
leave, but I do need to get to my oh, look at that.
Look at that.
That's so
We will
nice.
email this to you, Terry, and we thank you. And go do your
Oh,
Rotary thing. And
thank you so much.
we appreciate your heartwarming presentation today, Terry.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you,
And
Terry. Thank you.
congratulations again. Continue doing good.